when you're younger, you think you have to like, work it out yourself. But it's like, find those people. So for you, when did you realize that? And what were the type of people that you went to for that advice?
Yeah, when I was in Wellington, I probably carried a bit of that baggage over to my time into Wellington as well, I would say. And I, by chance, happened to have a mentor sort of come up to me and say, look, he said, Ankur Bassi is his name. He's a coach that I've since put you onto as well. So
Correct.
You know what he's like. But he came up to me and said, do you want to play for New Zealand? And I said, yeah, I want to play for New Zealand. And he goes, okay, you're probably not going to like what you hear, but I think you have a bit to work on technically. And I said, okay. And he goes, come down to the nets tomorrow and we'll get working on it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I turned up to Kilburnie Park.
Did you know him before that day?
He was the coach of my club team, but
right.
I hadn't played many games for the club. So I knew him, but like we didn't have a great relationship at that stage. So I turned up to the Kilburnie Park nets, the artificial ones, just as you're driving in from the airport on the left there.
Just
classic
concrete cage,
yeah,
like any other net at a club ground.
Hopefully you can picture it, but yeah. So we got down there and he was very honest with me as to where he saw my game, but he obviously could see a little bit of potential in me because he was keen to work with me, and I think from that point on I just put my complete trust in him from a technical point of view. And so whenever now, 4 or 5 years on since I started working with him, I know that my technical focus happens when I'm with Ankur at the nets in Kilburnie every time we go to the same place. And then when I'm away from him, all I'm thinking about is how I'm going to play a certain situation, what the bowler's trying to do to me, where am I looking to score. So that took that focus of perhaps when I was at those low points in Otago and Wellington, I was very technically focused, had no intent to score, all those little things that I wasn't taking care of. I was searching for a magic bullet to suddenly feel good again, whereas now I try and keep my intent the same. My technique work is taken care of with Ankur, and then I can just go out and be free and play.
Yeah, Ankur. So Mike put me on to Ankur as well in the last year or so. You've been working with Ankur for about 3 years now. And I knew about him, And I'd reached a point as well with my batting where I was like, oh man, I'm just so lost in terms of what I'm doing technically. I'm getting messages left, right and centre. You know, this guy saying play your natural game. This guy saying you need higher hands. This guy saying you need to go back. And it was just, I'd reached a point where it was just, I didn't know what I was doing. And so working with Ankur, and you've had similar sessions, you know, he'll get a tyre out and actually teach you how to do the muscle movements into a drive and like what muscles you need to use to get into it. And he was actually explaining, the way he explained it was so simple and again, I was probably similar to you where it was like, you're just so open to getting technically something sorted. But he made the movements simple and it was easy to understand. Straight away changed my grip to a stronger kind of top hand grip. It's hard to explain on a podcast, but it's so I was like, all right, cool, that's my grip. All right, cool, this is my setup. All right, cool, this is how I'm going to move into the ball. And then it was just a matter of practicing those movements over again, the movements.
And I think that at where we are with both of our careers, you play a lot around the world, you play in different competitions with different teams, and with that comes a different coach at each of those teams and probably a different batting coach, a bowling coach. So you could, in a year, you could be around 7 or 8 different coaches at each of these teams that you're playing for. And I think as cricketers, sometimes we often just completely rely on the coach that's in front of us at that point. So if you're seeing 7 different coaches in a year period, then they will all have slightly different coaching philosophies, the ways that you should attack the ball, probably different views on technique and stuff, which can get very tricky. So I think one thing that's helped me is when I go and talk with these coaches, it's more how are you looking to play? Like what are the things in this part of the world that makes a difference when you're playing in the subcontinent? How do you play spin over here versus, they're not big technical changes. It's more just a mindset shift in terms of maybe this is where you should look to score or things like that. So I think having that one person that I rely on solely for my technical stuff allows you to then go and be open with other coaches and pick the parts that you like and maybe drop the parts that you don't like. Whereas if you're constantly being influenced by all these different coaches, then you can potentially lose sight of what you do well.
Yeah, and especially if the coach is an ex-great, or someone who is, you think, all right, I better listen to that guy because he must have the answer. Depending what state of mind you're in or things like that, I think the magic with Ankur, well, I know I feel it with him, is that he's so passionate that he wants you to do so well, and he builds a bit of a relationship. And there's no, it's like a genuineness from him. And the excitement he gets when we do well on the field is like the reward that's all he wants. That's all he wants. And so that's a really nice place to be in a relationship where there's no, I don't know how to explain, but that's where I really enjoy working with him as well.